Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'm here to talk through driving adoption of mobile for e-commerce and how to keep your app users active. So let's jump right in. So I'll walk through an introduction of who I am and who AppsFlyer is. I'll talk through some market insights for e-commerce. I'll talk through some best practice mobile marketing strategies, and then also most importantly, talk through user journeys to app, because it's all about being user-centric and focusing on giving them a really positive brand experience so they keep coming back to your app as a browser and most importantly as a purchaser. So a little introduction about me. I am Sue Azari. I am an e-commerce industry lead at AppsFlyer. I work with all of our amazing e-commerce clients across Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Latin America, advising them on mobile marketing, best practices, and industry insights. I have 10 years of experience working within e-commerce in the UK for brands such as Mr. Porter, Net-a-Porter, and the Very Group, who are the second largest e-commerce business in the UK, working within digital marketing, CRM, and mobile marketing based roles. And for anybody who doesn't know AppsFlyer, so we're a mobile measurement partner. We are the global largest MMP with 65% market share. We have over 1,300 employees worldwide with 19 offices globally. And we work with some absolutely incredible brands across lots of verticals, but also within e-commerce in particular. And ultimately, we help you measure the impact of your advertising and your marketing to your app, what users are doing post-install so that you can remarket to them if you wish to across owned and paid media channels. We help create frictionless user journeys through offering deep links and QR codes that can also be branded, and helping you understand the impact across your full ecosystem of channels in terms of how these work together to drive users to your app, and actually which channels are driving certain user behaviors and in-app actions all the way through to purchase. So some market insights. So working with one of our partners, Activate On Demand, they provided some research which shows that brands are facing rising customer acquisition costs whilst needing to increase frequency of customer engagement and lifetime value with existing customers. And 48% of customers require brands to solve relevant day-to-day problems in order for them to engage. But alongside this, they're battling quite a steep rise in customer acquisition costs. And again, there's a big scrutiny on budgets, particularly during this year with things like the recession and cost of living crisis. And from an e-commerce perspective, brands are really starting to focus on actually how can we drive as many profitable campaigns as possible, really focus on things like lifetime value, and with even more scrutiny on return on ad spend. But reaching high value customers is expensive and retaining them is tough in a highly competitive digital marketplace. 98% of all digital advertising spend is wasted and brands need help. And it's even more competitive now, given that consumers are more cost conscious, a little bit less brand loyal, given that they are having a reduced share of wallet and disposable income and are more likely to shop around and be pulled in by where there might be more competitive offers or lower prices. So again, loyalty is definitely a key focus over the next 12 months, at least for a lot of e-commerce brands. And that what we found as well through some internal research is that 29% of apps in the shopping category were uninstalled within 30 days of download, and 80% of app users stopped using the app within the first 3 months. But what's really key is that of those users who do engaged app customers drive 3.5 times more revenue than other shoppers and are 3 times more likely to make a repeat purchase. And we also have some internal research which shows that customers are more likely to be long-term valuable and engaged customers if they interact with an app at least once a week. So again, retention strategies and how you're driving value from users who you're bringing through to the app. And again, not just focusing on, volume of install or just cost of install, but actually looking at what the profitability is and what is ultimately, to keep talking about LTV, so lifetime value, how you can really focus on bringing in those high value users, particularly things like lookalike campaigns as well. So you could segment out your whatever your definition of loyalty is for your business, create a lookalike audience based on the different audience parameters that would make up a loyal user for your business. So for instance, that could be somebody who shopped 3 times in the last 90 days. Or I've seen some businesses who just 3 orders within a 12-month period is what they'd use to classify a loyal user, or it could be somebody who spent a minimum amount within a set period of time too. And most importantly, mobile continues to grow. Mobile devices account for 71% of retail traffic and generate 61% of online shopping orders. It's a trend that's definitely really accelerated because of COVID and the growth of mobile and digital during that time. And as I said previously, there is a strong link between retention and long-term loyalty. So 90% of app users who engage with an app at least once a week are more likely to be long-term users. So this is where you really need to focus on what that retention strategy looks like from an owned media perspective, in terms of what the product experience is within the app and how users can continue to engage with your app in between those purchase cycles. And again, perhaps what a paid remarketing strategy might look like too. Because mobile is really central to the shopping experience today, and 57% of shoppers prefer mobile apps to other channels, but we found that organizations really lack a cross-platform view of their activities. Often there are siloed tech stacks or siloed channels, and it's not giving them a view, as I mentioned at the beginning, in terms of how all of these different channels and touch points work together to ultimately influence somebody to download the app and to make a purchase. It's then difficult for you as a marketer to then understand, okay, actually, where should I continue to invest more of my time and budget? What is actually delivering an efficient return on ad spend or cost per install? And that's where having a mobile measurement partner is really important. And so then when it comes to your mobile marketing strategy, so what we found through our internal data and the wealth of apps that we work with is that e-com apps saw that 45% of their installs last year in 2022 were attributed to non-organic sources. So when we say non-organic, we mean that a user has chosen to download and install an app after seeing a marketing campaign, and that can be paid or owned media, including the likes of email or SMS. And so it shows that there's still very much a big focus on almost half of their installs coming from marketing activities. And retention is something that I'll keep talking about because it is really important. So for e-commerce, looking at last year, on average, 30 days after installing an app, daily retention rates will drop to 7% for e-commerce apps. So if 100 people installed your app today, in 30 days' time, on average, only 7 of them would come back. So remarketing is a really key strategy to help drive those new users to stay active and to convert on the app. And you can use audience-based features that are available within the likes of AppsFlyer to create a segment of inactive users who you could then split by category or browse behavior or average spend perhaps, and then push that out to your paid or owned media channels to bring them back. And also to, most importantly, to personalize those campaigns. So if you know that somebody has browsed a certain category or a product, you could perhaps offer them a promotion on that product or category in the remarketing campaign itself. And what we have found is that remarketing leads revenue KPIs upwards. So the percentage share of paying users is higher for the shopping apps that run remarketing campaigns versus those that don't run any remarketing. And that's true across all verticals, but it's even more prominent across the shopping category. And in terms of how different e-commerce apps and brands are driving users to their app, we work with Marks and Spencer's, the huge retailer within the UK, really established on the high street. They started as a high street retailer, and now they have a fantastic mobile presence. And they used AppsFlyer's One Link product to drive app adoption through smart banners. So these are banners that sit on your mobile website, and they take your high intent mobile web users and push them over to your app. And it also helps offer this seamless and contextualized journey through deep linking, which I'll talk through shortly, which helps drive users from the page that they're on the mobile site, ensuring that when they get to the app, that they also are directed to the same page upon opening the app after installing. And Marks and Spencer's had some fantastic results from this. They saw that their average revenue per user of a user that came through the smart banner was double any other channel, and that 29% of those installs converted into purchases, which is great. There's also, as part of the smart banner feature, there's also something called banner grouping. So you as a marketer can then also decide when and where those banners show, what the messaging is, and also have the opportunity to customize those banners so that they very much fit with your brand aesthetic and brand identity too. So that, again, it all feels very much like a seamless user journey. We have another client called Hepsi Barada, a Turkish-based e-com app. And web to app for them was really important as a strategy, but the mobile web banners that they had prior to using our smart banners were generic. They weren't really performing very well, and they also were managed by the IT and product team. So the marketers found that it was a bit of a challenge to be able to adapt, update, or optimize those when they needed to. But using AppsFlyer meant that after the one bit of JavaScript was added to their website, that they were able to actually manage all of this themselves within the AppsFlyer platform. They were able to customize the smart banner based on their, again, brand identity, and make sure that that really, again, felt like a seamless part of their mobile web experience. And again, taking that really high intent mobile web user and driving them through to the app was really successful for them. So they saw 132,000 app conversions in the first 3 months after launching this. And actually now 1 in 16 of their app installs comes through this smart banner, which is fantastic. And then focusing on user journeys, which is really important. So, in terms of why it's important, so the job of a good user journey should be to drive a customer from their current location, whatever that might be, to the desired destination, which in our world would be the app, but also to a specific page within the app. So, you don't want somebody to install the app, land on the home screen, and then have to navigate through to wherever it was that they might have been on mobile web, or perhaps they were shown an ad on paid social that showed a particular product or category, or a specific campaign. If they land on the home page, they're then having to go through and find that themselves. And given, shorter attention spans, especially on mobile, you have a matter of seconds to keep somebody's attention before they might get a WhatsApp notification, a notification from one of your competitors. It might be a notification from Instagram for a message that somebody's just sent them, which can pull them out of your app and into a completely different experience. And it's more difficult to bring them back in once that's happened. And also the additional challenge as part of that, which is, ultimately the key focus here, is that if you bring a customer to the wrong destination, it may cause them not to convert. And when you think about, we talked before about budget being wasted, some of that can be through poor user journeys where users are bouncing, they're not converting, and ultimately it leads to this wasted budget. So the stronger that your user journeys, and the more that you're ensuring that you're driving users through to the right location and it's seamless and easy for them to get to where they want to go, the higher the likelihood is that they will convert, which ultimately has a great effect for your paid campaigns from a ROAS perspective too. But in order to increase, so what we call your return on experience, your mobile customer experience really needs to be contextual. So there should be a sense of, where users are and where they're going, and making sure that's really very much joined up in order to create trust. Broken user journeys or incorrect user journeys can be really frustrating for the end user. And that one bad user experience can mean that they might not come back to your app. It should also feel personal, so users should feel like they're getting a unique experience that's tailored for them. Obviously, we're here to avoid being creepy. I think that there are limitations on how personalized those campaigns can be. I'm sure you've seen campaigns that might have like your first name, and for instance, it's just getting that balance right in terms of, showing them something that's right for them, but not going to the extent of presenting all of the data that you might have on them. And on that point, it should be private. So users should be able to choose what personal data they want to share and which details they want to keep private. That privacy consent should really be down to that user to be able to feel comfortable and safe with you as a business, particularly when sharing the likes of payment details and address details or date of birth, knowing that that's all compliant from a privacy perspective, which privacy is really at the heart of everything that AppsFlyer does. And they should be smooth. So the journey should be so flawless that the user won't recognize that they've been taken through more than one touch point. And I think ideally, if you can reduce the number of touch points too, again, making that journey shorter, means that they'll be less likely to bounce and more likely to convert. And then when we talk about these channel touch points and user journeys, actually, what should those channels be? And I mentioned, a little bit about paid media, but I think what's really interesting is that within the e-commerce space, that the use of owned media sources for mobile has grown 360% year on year. And again, when we talk about owned media, there's a wealth of channels within that and different touch points that you can utilize as a marketer or as a business to engage with consumers or end users. So this can be email, QR, referral, social, SMS, and web. And this is looking at the median conversion rate from click to install. And what we found, first of all, is that businesses that use a wealth or diversified mix of channels have the most success. So for instance, a user might not be opted into your emails, but they might be opted into SMS messages, for instance, or they may not already be an online customer, so maybe they don't use your website, but if you have a store, they might shop in store and therefore they might see a QR code. So the idea is being able to get different customers at different touch points throughout their user journey with you. And what we found that's really interesting, again, this growth was very much accelerated because of the pandemic, is this huge growth in the use of QR codes. Now, they don't necessarily drive the highest volume of installs for businesses within the e-commerce space, but they do have the highest conversion rate from click to install, so around 37%. And again, it really depends on how and where and when it's used. We've seen some fantastic examples of cosmetic brands who are removing outer packaging on products for sustainability reasons and are actually placing QR codes on the products themselves that users can scan and be taken to more information about that product or tutorials. And it gives an opportunity for the user to continue that experience with the brand and perhaps also have cross-sell and upsell opportunities that can be targeted based on that specific product that was bought. Referral to app is a really interesting one. So it's making your existing loyal users work harder for you and get them to bring in new customers to your app or new users. And what we have found is that the 7-day retention rate for users who install via a referral link via other channels does tend to be 2 times as high versus other channels, which is great. Again, because you've got that social proofing and you've got that, directly somebody that who has referred you. And that type of campaign is only made stronger when there's some kind of incentive behind that too. And then web to app is really key for a lot of e-commerce businesses. They really want to focus on how they can drive their existing web users across to the app. And this has, a fairly high conversion rate from click to install at almost 31%. And we find that this is done in, a few different methods. I talked about smart banners previously. There are also App Store CTAs that often sit in the footer of mobile web sites and also on desktop sites. We've also seen the use of QR codes via pop-up. So if somebody sat at the computer, they can actually scan a QR code, which will recognize which operating system they're on. And if they don't have the app, it will take them to the App Store. And if they do have the app, it will take them through to a relevant page. So again, there's that blend between web and QR code being used together there. And then deep linking. So, I've mentioned a QR code use case. We have a great example from a customer, Pizza Hut. So, just to step back, deep linking enables contextual, personal and smooth experiences from any channel into your app, which is great. So suddenly it's unlocked all of these additional touch points for you as a business to drive offline users into your app. I think that for Pizza Hut, so they had a cohort of users who would always come into one of their smaller stores and come in and place an order or call up and make an order. And they really wanted to try and drive those users across to the app, but they didn't, if that user wasn't opted in for emails, for instance, and had always been an in-store customer or had always called up, they didn't have a wealth of data or marketing touch points to use in order to try and drive them through to the app. Actually, they realized that every customer who orders from them receives a pizza box, and actually that could be unlocked as an additional marketing channel. So they decided to add a QR code onto that, which they knew that those non-web-based or already non-app-based customers would definitely see. And they saw a lot of success from this. They also added behind this as a value exchange. So in terms of actually why should a end user download and use the Pizza Hut app if they're already happy with the way that they order today. And what Pizza Hut built into that experience was a rewards program. So it enabled them to offer points for every purchase, and with those points can then be accumulated and used to unlock certain reward-based programs, which again, they saw a really great increase in their installs and in the LTV of the users who came through this campaign too. And again, just with deep linking to clarify, so in terms of, exactly what it is and how it works, again, I've talked about the channels that you can use with deep linking, but ultimately it's the mechanism of sending users either directly to the chosen in-app content or to download in the right app store and then to the right in-app content. So in this example that you can see here, a user would click a link. If they don't have the app installed, something called deferred deep linking can happen. So this is where they will be directed to the App Store to download the app, and then immediately upon launching the app, they'll be showing the relevant in-app content. So again, that example that I mentioned previously about trying to take them to where they want to go as quickly as possible. So it might be that, yeah, they've been shown a specific pair of shoes in a paid campaign or an email campaign, and maybe there's an app exclusive for those shoes and they're not available on any other channel. If they didn't have the app, they installed and landed on the home screen, they've got to somehow navigate through to find those shoes. With deferred deep linking, immediately upon the app launching, it can then show them the relevant content. And then for somebody who does have the app installed, if they were to click that link, say it was an email or a paid campaign, immediately upon clicking the link, they'll be taken through directly to that right content within the app. And a great example of this, as I mentioned, is with an email campaign, is cart abandonment. So ensuring that you're integrating deep linking with your email service provider or your CRM tool. You can create, obviously an email template with your ESP that's set up based on an abandoned cart with a relevant CTA for them to check out. And then you can set up an automated email program so that when a user clicks on the CTA, they'll be taken straight through using deep linking through to the checkout page. And then they can then complete their purchase journey, which will help recover lost sales. It helps from a re-engagement perspective. It helps with lifetime value, and it helps reduce abandoned cart rates. Another great example of this type of campaign is if users have items in their basket. So a lot of end users are starting to use the basket almost as a wish list as well. So it might not just be that they've forgotten that there are items in there, but it might be that they've added it in and then they wanted to check if it's cheaper or available somewhere else and do a bit of a price comparison. But sending them a reminder is a great way of being able to bring them back. Also, if those items are low in stock or if they're reduced in the sale, those are two great reasons to notify that user that they should come back to their basket to purchase those items. And we found that there's a great re-engagement conversion rate from these types of campaigns of 21%. So that's everything from me. I hope that's given you some inspiration in terms of some touch points that you can utilize to drive users to your app, both from a paid and an owned media perspective. There's some great benchmarks there in terms of the conversion rates from click to install that you can expect to see through those channels. And again, really to hammer home the importance of these frictionless user journeys and how you can make that as easy as possible for the end user to get to where they need to go to ultimately help increase their conversion rate to purchase. So thank you so much. Please get in touch if you have any questions, and thank you so much for your time.